My name is John Hovius, and I was 13 years old in 1957 when the accident at Dresden happened, wherein my brother and father were killed. And our family was notified that evening, the 14th of August, by a knock on the door, and somebody told us there had been an accident.
My father was the site engineer for a construction project in Dresden, Ontario in 1957. The project was building a pumping station right beside the river for the new water system that was being put in for the town.
I do not know whether, as a site engineer, he would have the authority to close the job. It's a question I actually carry. He was there 25 years old, just 25 years old, and here was this experienced, highly regarded contractor that he was faced with.
I couldn't believe that something that terrible had happened here and that I hadn't known about it.
At the time, I don't think there was much safety. You did what you had to do, but whether it was safe or not, no.
When we worked almost from daylight to dark in those days because, yeah, we were immigrants and we had to make a living. You took any job you could get.
I actually do recall my brother saying he was not looking forward to going back down in that hole.
There was one farmer, our family came over to Canada who lived also in the Aylmer area. When they got to the farmer's place, the chicken coop was going to be their home. That's how much the farmers thought of us as people coming over here to work for them.
The farmer said, well, really, I don't need you anymore, and hung up. And so here my parents were standing at the train station on a Sunday afternoon, a beautiful day, with 5 kids. Now what?
He told Dad that you could find the gold on the streets in Canada. He didn't talk about poverty, which we entered into. We were pretty good off in Holland, well off. Dad paid for the trip. The government didn't sponsor us. He was proud of that.
That Sunday night, she said, why don't you just call in sick? It's too dangerous, don't go. You know, she wanted him to stay home. And if he had, he'd be alive.
But I remember Mama hugging Dad and him coming back to give her another hug. And then they left. That was the last time that I saw him.
He was not afraid to do whatever needed. So he was down below somewhere when the whole thing collapsed.
My father and Mr. Keeler were standing on the edge of the pit, and the other 5 were in the pit. My father was dragged into it, and Keeler could escape. And there were 6 casualties, and my father was one of the 6.
The guy told her to get a chair and sit down. She knew immediately. He hadn't said a word. She knew. She got the chair and she looked at us, and we knew right away.
Our family was the only ones that could have an open coffin. Well, they still looked like them. I could tell Wilfred had some cement between his teeth. And my mom sort of got stuck at my brother's coffin. And I said, oh, Mom, Dad's here too.
And later on, I saw it in the London Free Press and realized that, here we are. I could have been part of that team, and who knows what would have happened to me.
I remember Mr. Keeler coming to visit us, crying profusely. He's crying his heart out, and he kept saying, it was all my fault, it was all my fault. And my mother said, no, it was not your fault. And she felt sorry for him.
What he did talk about at that time was the photographs that he had taken of the site. His photographs were what he felt in the court case were clinchers. In fact, there wasn't much interest, and maybe they didn't even look at the photographs. I think he tried to suppress the whole thing. There was nothing he could do about it anymore, and so what was the point?
she never really got over that accident. She was a mother who really believed in a paternalistic world. And so for my dad to die, and then my oldest brother, that was like the worst tragedy that could ever have happened.
People just wanted to get on with life and didn't want to hear bad things in the 50s. And the fact that it conveniently happened to an immigrant group that didn't speak particularly good English made it easy to do so.